So what was the research you did before doing this film?
I started out with a book called The Patriarch, which is on Joe Kennedy, which picks him up, you know, as before, you know, his father, turn of the century. And that was an immense read. Joe died actually 3 months after this event. So that covered me, the family, you know. And then I started breaking it down. I then went through some books on Joe Jr., then I read all the books that I could on Jack, and there's a lot on that. Then I read the Bobby books, and then I finally read the Ted books.
You just were like,
I did a lot of, no, I really, I loved it. Actually, there's some great writing on these guys.
Yeah.
The one on Ted, there's a couple of great ones on Bobby as well, that making him a modern liberal.
Yeah.
And then lots of video footage.
Yeah.
Lots of video footage I watched, and audio tapes and the speeches.
Yeah.
I love listening to the speeches.
Well, I thought you did a great job. Now, in terms of doing all that research, what did you know was to be truth when you were doing this? Because I know that there's a lot of concepts about everything around that family, really.
Yeah. Well, I mean, truth, you know, it depends on the quality of the writer and the integrity of the writer, I guess, you know. I'd start if some book was just crappy or silly or, you know, I'd stop that one. But some of the great books, you know, you cross-reference them or you see them again somewhere else.
Yeah.
Okay. With this event, though, you know, yeah, there was a lot of digging around. There were a lot of different stories. There still are. You go to Chappaquiddick now,
Yeah.
or the island, people have still got different theories about what happened that night.
Yeah.
Who was in the car, you know, which seats they were in. But there was a lot of stuff that I learned, you know, particularly from the books about the events of the night, you know, about how the blood, you know, bubbling, you know, the way what they saw in her mouth showed asphyxiation from lack of air rather than drowning.
Yeah. So did your view on it change, or maybe you didn't know as much before you were doing all this research, or, you know, after doing the movie?
My view got deeper, yeah. I mean, you know, when you realise that you walked away for 9 hours, she very possibly could have been dead.
Yeah.
Would I do that to somebody? Would I do it to my mother, my sister, a friend, a stranger? I hope not.
Yeah.
You know, I found, you know, I could never really get away from that. You know, I couldn't. And I don't think you can. But that's what makes it so interesting, I think, for the way he behaved and for what he did, and then ultimately what the country did.
I think that he's trying to figure out his motives. What do you think his greatest motive is in this kind of movie?
I think just survival. I think, you know, and that can be whether at certain times, you know, you allow the machine to take over for you and run it for you, which I think he did, because he was in a state of shock, I think, at some point. He was like, I don't know what to do here. You know, you can allow it to play out and go, you know what, I'm going to say nothing, I'm going to see what the world takes for me, you know. And then I think there was a lot of self-destruction as well, almost. Like, I think I'm going to get, somebody's going to call me up and say, no, you're not getting away with this. But then ultimately to get away with it.
Yeah. What do you hope, like, audiences get out of it in terms of what the, you know, message is about it?
Well, I mean, it's a great story to begin with. The story itself is quite fascinating and quite, you know, a thriller. You think it's, you know, if you don't know the story as well, you know, it's right into the end, you're going, is he going to get away with this?
Yeah.
I mean, how did he get away with this? How did he get it? And then, I mean, to take away, I mean, I hope they really enjoy it. I hope they have a thirst to understand more about politics, the Kennedys, this event, what came before it, what came after it, where are we now?
Yeah.
You know, and see its place in where we are now.
Yeah. There's still today, you know, Kennedys in political spheres and stuff.
Yeah,
How do you think today we can take messages from the movie about politics?
You've actually got to find out. You've got to read, you know, you're journalists. You've got to do your work. Otherwise, you know what? You will be led down the garden path by the people who are leading you down the garden path for their own benefit.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, the narrative was written and Ted got away with it in the short term. Long term in history, you know, who's to say about that? I think you should decide about whether it was right or wrong.
Yeah.
I think that's, you know, as an audience member, you should start to make choices about being educated and going, what is right, what is wrong? What am I going to do next time when I'm faced with a choice about a candidate?
Yeah.
Moses had a temper. Peter betrayed Jesus. I have Chappaquiddick.
Moses had a temper, but he never left a girl at the bottom of the Red Sea.